Yay! Ha! We're live.
A little button.
What button?
The one that says live.
Oh, I think we always begin with Meryl saying something kind of like cute and cute and like left.
Come on, guys, at least say sure up. Doesn't mean that I have to say anything relevant.
No, we could talk about baseball or the weird weather in Ohio.
Yes, that's what you're talking about. I'm posting some discussion questions in the chat.
Okay, cool. I don't want to open it here. I actually want to. Hey, can you do me a favor and if you get that Facebook window open, could you post it on Facebook so I can open it on the other computer?
Sure.
Awesome, thank you. So, what else is doing that? You want to share, Meryl, what we talked about before? Your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I actually really love the book a lot. I think it's beautiful. I think I'll reread it again someday. Which is saying a lot, because I don't reread anything ever. But I haven't quite finished. I have like 100 pages left. But it's one of those books that like I don't want to rush through. Like I just want to read it for like months and months, like a chapter a night. So I don't know. I was like I could marathon it and like finish it by the meeting, or I could just like give myself a break and just think about what I've already read. And so that's what I did. That's how I feel about it, generally speaking.
I did the audio, and it wasn't engaging.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was. I think it was the reading because I pulled up a copy on Oyster and started reading that, and I found it to be a lot more interesting that way. But because of traveling and whatever, in the end of the semester and craziness, I was like, okay, well, let's do the audio. And I kept falling asleep on it.
I actually started with the audio and did like the first like chunk of it in audiobook and switched to reading it for that same reason. I kept falling asleep.
Yeah, I can't imagine it would be good in audio for the reasons you were saying, Meryl, about like you want to savor it and think about it and not
Right.
just go through the plot, because it's not a plot driven book, it's a character driven book.
And I think I've only done one character-driven book on audio that I was really engaged in, but I'd already read it. So it was just, having the story in my head while I was doing, or in my ears while I'm doing something else. Whereas this was, like, when it got to the point where they were went back and was talking about Katie's family and Johnny's family, okay, I'm like, this feels a little biblical to me. And I really should be reading it instead of listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
So did you finish it, Eli?
I did not.
Sorry, Jessica, we're failures at book club.
I know, right? Hey, but you know what? We show up.
That's true. I don't mind spoilers though. If you want to talk about it, I don't know how much like I can be a good book club member and like reflect a lot on the exact ending, but I don't mind spoilers with this book at all.
Yeah, I don't think it's the kind of book where you're going to really ruin something by knowing.
Yeah.
I think spoilers are more like, I don't know, if there's a big twist or if it's, huge plot driven, but I mean, it's just like, it's like portraiture, I
Right.
felt like. Which, I'm going to agree with you, Meryl. It's one that, like, you want to just take it in. Like, when I go to the art museum, I kind of like to meander and, spend the time with the paintings and whatever. And I didn't have the time to do that.
Yeah, I really liked it. It took me a while to get into the book. I mean, it was kind of slow going at first, but I ended up really, really liking it once I kind of got into the rhythm of the book and knew what to expect.
Yeah, I agree. I think it actually helped a lot to start with audiobook though, because I thought the narrator was actually very good in the recording that I did. I just I don't think it's a book that should be an audiobook.
Yeah.
Did you do like an Audible audio or like the CDs?
I did Audible.
Okay. The the way the CDs are set up, there's this like male voice that jumps in that says, "This is the end of the CD," and it's very, very jarring. It takes you out of the story.
Oh, no.
And that sucked.
Yeah, bet.
But I was like, oh, library, you know. There's something I was gonna say though. Oh, I was talking about getting a new group of students and having to convince them that that reading is something that they should be able to do well, even if they don't like to do it. And I was thinking about Katie's revelation about the education. It's like, oh, if you want to better yourself, this is one way in which you can go through the whole bettering of yourself process. And then her mother saying, you need to read to your kids every night until they can read to themselves, and then they need to do it every night because that will make them better. And after having been, I think, swindled by the land guys.
Yeah, for the burial.
No.
Right.
Yeah. Like when they're like, oh, I saved up all that money, and then they got swindled because they couldn't read.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So like I want to take that scene and say, hey, look, this is what I'm talking about all the time.
Yeah.
But they're 8th graders.
Have you guys gotten to the part where they have to decide which of them is going back to school?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But go ahead.
What's Francis' brother's name?
Neely.
Yeah, so they can only afford to send one back to school, and one has to work to support the family. And so Neely does not want to go back to school, and Francie very much wants to go back to school. So the mother says, okay, Neely, you have to go back to school, and Francie, you have to work because you want to learn, so you're going to find a way no matter what. But Neely, you have to be made to go to school. And I don't know, I was really surprised by that. I mean, I understood her logic, but I also felt for Francie because I was like, that's really kind of taking a risk to say Francie's going to find a way back to get her education when you're forcing her on a path to support your family through working.
Well, she's also like a girl, so it makes it exponentially harder for her to get an education.
Yeah.
If she decided to go back.
That, and it seems like it's even harder for the poorer kids to get the good education because they're less at least as far as I got, they were less favored by the instructors than the more well-to-do students were.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they that Francie that they like picked out a new address for her, and because like nowadays they've got people like policing that sort of thing, so people can't go to school in other districts where they don't live, and they're just like, okay, we're just gonna like pick this random address and no one's ever gonna check on it. And then she was able to
also there happen to be no kids that live at that address that also already go to this school. Right. Although we're in this district, we have no idea who lives at that address.
Well, I mean, it's also like the early 1900s, so it's not like they have the internet to check.
Yeah, but
huge oversight committees.
You would know more people in that time too, and like where they lived.
Well, but not necessarily in Brooklyn. I mean, there were a lot of people there even then.
Yeah, that's true.
Somebody's in our hall. Hello? Hi, I'm over here. Welcome back. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. It's like, who's coming in the hall? I'm doing book club right now.
Nice to see you. You guys have a good time?
Yeah.
Family. All right, well, I'm on there. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
I'm home.
We have been the only ones in our residence hall. the priest who lives here just got back. So I was like, who's coming into our hall? None of the students should be yet. Okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
All good.
I was like heartbroken. Eli, I don't know if you've gotten to this part about like Francie's teacher and like her telling her to write about like she wrote all these things about her dad and like about poverty, and her teacher was like, you need to write about sunshine and rainbows, like you need to write about happiness, and you need to write about like beautiful things. And Francie was like, but these are beautiful things. These are like the things that like are real. And she's like, what makes it beautiful? And her teacher's like, truth is beauty and beauty is truth. She's like, but these are true. And it like completely like threw her. It made me really sad.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that there's some truth to that people don't want to read about the realities of poverty and depression and I don't know. I think she wrote about alcoholism.
Yeah, I think she wrote about like all of it, really. Maybe like I was also very upset that like I couldn't read them. It's like I want to know what Francie wrote.
Yeah.
Fanfic.
A tree grows in Brooklyn fanfic. That would be. That's what you should do, Eli. Assign them to read this book, and then have all of your students write fanfics.
Yeah, many of my students struggle to write sentences.
You can tell them it's practice makes perfect.
Yes, write fanfic. Fanfic is awesome. That would be interesting, though, to see a young girl's perspective on, what we're seeing in the story. Because if she's writing about what is true, then it's stories about things that we've already seen within the story.
Yeah.
I really liked that there wasn't. How do I say this? Like, her father was an alcoholic, but he wasn't like a bad person.
Right. Yeah.
That part of him was not downplayed, but he also wasn't a one-dimensional, like, abusive, angry person. He was a very loving father in the way that he was able to be, and I appreciated that there was kind of that nuanced portrayal of that character. And the same thing with the fact that they were very poor. Like, that was not downplayed, the fact that they had these hardships, but they weren't like, it wasn't all about deprivation and sadness. They had joy, they had love, they had all these things, and but it also wasn't romanticized. Like, it wasn't like, oh, look, poor people love so much better than people who have material things. It was, I felt like it was very balanced.
I think that's like why I feel like it's so slow, and why like it's not a plot-driven novel, though, because it's just like, this is how it is, and you're just like kind of an observer of like observations that the author made about this fictional life. I don't know. Like, I feel like it's like observations on top of observations made into a novel that make you just want to like reflect on it more than what happens next. It's more just like, oh, wow, yeah, that's a good thought. Or I can relate to that, or like, why have I never related to that before?
Right. Yeah, just little snapshots of their lives more than like one driving plot line.
Right. Makes it more believable, too. Like, it's not... Because so often I think about my life and I was like, I can never write a book. Like, there are too many facets, like, of things that, like, I feel like there's not one driving story of my life. It's not, like, the story of my career or, like, the story of my, like, love life or, like, any of these things. Like, I feel like life is so multifaceted that reading this book, it's more like a real life than it is when you read, like, Eleanor and Park, where it's like, this is the romance, and this is the beginning, and this is the end. And, like, while, like, that book is also, like, obviously not point A to point B necessarily, like, you know what to expect, and you want to find out if what you expect is what's going to happen, whereas in this book, it's just like, I don't know what to expect, but I'm not really that concerned about it.
Yeah. And I know you guys haven't gotten to the end, but despite the fact that there isn't really a plot driving it, I feel like it circles back very nicely so that you eventually see there's a lot of parallels between the first scenes in the book and the last scenes in the book, and you see how Francie has grown and changed, and that all of those little moments throughout the book have come together to make her who she is and taught her about life.
Yeah. I'm like super excited for the end of the book, but I almost like don't want it to be over. Like, I just want to hold it.
I felt that way a few times. Pam says that she is visiting with her cousin from Florida, and that is why she's not here.
Okay.
Just thought I would relay.
The discussion questions, number 2, I think goes into kind of what we were talking about with Johnny a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Did anyone want to
So some critics have argued that many of the characters in A Tree Grows Brooklyn can be dismissed as stereotypes, exhibiting quaint characteristics or representing pat qualities of either nobility or degeneracy. Is this fair criticism? Which characters are the most convincing and the least? You know, I didn't see them as stereotypical.
I didn't either.
No.
Like, I was thinking about the character of Sissy, who, like, I don't think the stereotype of women who are sissy, because I don't know how to say that. You don't think about them being very, very nurturing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and within that stereotype. And then like you see her with Johnny when when Katie locks him in the bedroom and she's trying to get him like sober, and with Francine how she's very, very mothering to those characters.
Yeah.
And I think that totally rails against that stereotype.
Yeah, I agree, and that's kind of why I wanted to address that question, is because it sounded like that's kind of what Jessica was getting at with Johnny. Like, he is more of a well-rounded character, and I feel like the characters are pretty well-rounded. So I don't really agree that almost any of the characters are very stereotypical. I mean, I guess the most stereotypical to me would be Neely, but that's just because they don't really focus on him very much.
Yeah, I like the portrayal of Katie as her mother, because you also see you see her perspective, and she kind of does her best. She's not always perfect, and she doesn't always make the right decisions, but she's also doing the best with what she knows and what she has, and I think that's pretty realistic.
And the omniscient narrator is kind of nice too, as it gives us the inside the brains of a number of the characters, including Katie, who is struggling with this fact that she knows she likes Neely better, and is trying to make sure that Francie doesn't figure out that she likes Neely better, although she thinks that Francie knows, and so that, I mean, to me that was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of a spoiler too, Eli, I'm not sure.
That's all right.
Okay. But at one point, it talked about Katie and Johnny getting together in the beginning, and how Hildy, her friend, had been dating him. And I thought it was really. Did you? Wait, sorry, what?
I got that. Yeah, I read that part.
No, and then I was going to talk about later in the book.
Oh, okay, good.
When Johnny passes away, and they're talking about they're at the funeral, and Katie's just I can't cry, and I'm not crying, and she was I looked over, and Hildy was there, and Hildy was crying, and she kind of exited the scene, and she was just good somebody who loved him should be crying. Like, she was like happy to see somebody else crying for him and loving him, even if it was like going back to like Hildy and that description. And I thought that was like very like an interesting like spin on Katie's character, because you could tell like through the whole book that she did love Johnny, but it was a different kind of love. And I thought that was like a very interesting like, I don't know, twist.
Yeah.
That was the spoiler. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm thinking about it now. Because there are things that I remember about their relationship wherein it's like it seemed like they were growing apart. Or Katie was getting frustrated with all the drinking. I'm not sure, but I mean, she talked a lot about how she needed to take care of him, and nobody else would take care of him. And when she had a baby, she was like, I can't have any other babies because I can't take care of everybody. And then I guess one time he comes home drunk, and oh wait, nope, that's the other way around. Never mind. Bad example.
Okay.
Bad example.
There was a little bit of an element of absurdity in Sissy and her calling all of her men John, or what did you call him, John?
John.
Like that they just all went along with that, and then like they pretended to believe that she was pregnant, and like all of that was just a little bit ridiculous. But I thought it was, I don't know, humorous.
Is it bad that discussion question number 7, how can modern readers reconcile the frequent anti-Semitism and anti-immigrant sentiments that characters espouse throughout the novel? Is it bad that I didn't really notice a lot of that?
I'm trying to remember. It's been a couple months now. I think there was something. I was looking over the Spark Notes analysis of the book, and I remember seeing something about that in there.
I remember being incredibly shocked when I started listening to it, and I'm like, wait a minute, did you just say what I think they said? And then I had to go and look up some like background information. It's like, okay, 1943, it's set in the early 1900s. Not that excuses the things, but it puts it into a context. It's like, okay, it's like, when Germans get mad, they call everybody Jewish, and I'm like, really? That I didn't realize there was a conflict between like German people and Jewish people before, like that was building that early in the 1900s before World War II happened.
Right.
So and I think all of that was interesting from a historical point of view. After I got over my initial shock. Like, this is how people related to each other at that time.
Yeah, I'm looking over the Spark Notes, and in the first chapter, Francie already observes the differences between pregnant Catholic women and pregnant Jewish women. The narrator notes the Jewish delicatessen is filled with Christians buying rye bread. When Neely and his friends go to play baseball, they harass the Jewish boy and then embark on a theological discussion of whether or not white Jews exist. Which I don't know if that's...
I don't think it's anti-Semitism, though. I think that's, like, kids exploring the differences between, like, ethnicities and religions.
Right.
But there were also instances in which, she went to get the pickle, and she said something, and it pissed off the pickle guy.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what she said.
We go find it, but then I picked up the book and I was like, that's a big book.
Let's see. The narrator describes pickle days, on which days Francie buys a big Jewish pickle from a Hebrew man in a neighborhood store. She always asks for a penny sheeny pickle, and the word sheeny makes the old Jewish man angry, but Francie doesn't know she's using an insulting word.
Yeah, that was it.
But again, that's not really anti-Semitism on Francie's part. That's just kind of a contextual of the time.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Which doesn't make it right, but I don't think the book is like using it as a.
Well, I
I don't.
think
Yeah.
it's showing. I think it's showing her sheltered ignorance
Right.
of other types of people.
Yeah, I didn't see any like offensive stereotypical portrayals of Jewish people in the book. Like I just
Yeah.
saw Francie and Neely's ignorance about Jewish people, which I think is different.
Yeah.
But I'm not Jewish, so I don't know how a Jewish person would read it.
I don't know.
I think this book is a good book club book, though, more than some of the other books that we've read. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot more to discuss about this book than some of the other books we've read. We're all like, yeah, that was crappy, or like, yeah, that was good.
What else do you want to discuss about it?
I don't know. I mean, I'm still like in the process of reflecting. I think I need like to finish it and then like reflect on it over like a year. But like, I just really like the characters. Like, I just really like how like slowly you get to know these people and you don't love them or hate them. You just like observe them, and not even in a critical manner. I'm gonna sneeze. Sorry, my face is thick. But not even like necessarily in a critical manner, but in a like a relating way. Like, how do I relate to these people? How would I react in this situation? And then also the settings, like, I don't know, like I'm just picturing like old Brooklyn. And maybe it helped that like I read a good chunk of this on the train to Brooklyn. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still in Ramble Merrill discussion. You guys need to just pick up on things I say and ask me about them.
Okay, so what's the deal with the tree? I mean, because the title is "A Tree Grows," and I think I don't know if I didn't get far enough to understand what the title means.
Well, they talk about it at the very beginning, don't they? The Tree of Heaven.
Yeah.
Okay, that must have been a really long time ago.
The Tree of Heaven is a type of tree that grows like where nothing else can grow. So in parking lots and sidewalks and
Right. I do remember that now.
it's kind of I think it's supposed to be a symbol for how Francie is able to kind of overcome her circumstances growing up in poverty and is able to find a way to grow and flourish and learn regardless of where she started.
Okay, cool.
So I think she is the tree that grows in Brooklyn. I think is the idea.
I thought it was very interesting how you could tell that Johnny loved his children, and you could tell that there's a special bond between Francie and Johnny, but like it was never overplayed. Like it's very rare that like the two of them are in the same place, like alone. And I thought that was a very interesting like tactic. Like you could tell that they loved each other, but like it was like when the bartender was like, yeah, he talked about you all the time, but he talked about both kids. Or like I guess like the scene that stands out the most of them bonding is like when he took her to the new school. But like you could tell that there's a special bond there without it ever being like explicit. Like I'm upset, I need to talk to my dad. It was like just like an understanding, but I'm not sure how it was actually built when I'm looking back on it.
Yeah, I think that was reflected. I mean, I think there's this whole idea that Neely was Katie's favorite and Francie was Johnny's favorite, and then what happens when one parent dies and you're the child who's that parent, you were their favorite, and now you're left with the parent who clearly favors the other child. How do you deal with that?
You just keep swimming.
Well, I mean, Francie becomes very self-reliant. Like, I think after that point is when she really stops relying on Katie for anything and kind of goes off and makes her own way.
I think that was set up, like, previous, though. I mean, because she never really had a lot of friends. So it seemed like she was prepared through, the sitting on the stoop and not playing with people, and then going to school and smelling really, really bad and not playing with people. Like, okay, so I've got to do all of these things on my own, and now my dad's gone, so I don't know, continue in the same vein, I suppose.
Well, I think that, like, their family was very self-reliant as a unit, and then eventually Francie became independently self-reliant apart from her family.
Yeah. I think, though, like, that was building, too, though, because, like, you could tell, like, with Johnny's alcoholism and things, too, like, although Francie knew she was loved, like, she was like, people thought that he was sober when he was drunk because he was drunk so much, and, like, she was dealing with the fact that, like, the parent that favored her was always drunk and, like, wasn't always approachable or wasn't always available before anything happened. So I think, like, while he was gone, it was probably, like, very jolting to her to be like, I'm alone. But she'd already been alone. She just, like, wasn't objectively alone, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a nice commentary on alcoholism, too. I feel like a lot of people that I've known who are alcoholics, like, are very lovable people, are very emotional people, which drives a lot of people, I think, to drink more because they have so much, like, emotion and things to handle that, like, you love these people, but they're so unavailable that, like, it's a good commentary on that as well, especially from a child's perspective.
Yeah. Lots to think about.
Kendall was quiet.
What do you think? So, what do you think about number 3? This is sort of what we're talking about with Francie not having friends. Francie observes more than once that women seem to hate other women, while men, even if they hate each other, stick together against the world. Is this an accurate appraisal of the way things are in the novel?
Wait, say that again?
Francie observes more than once that women seem to hate other women. And she even has a conversation with Katie where, Katie's like, you need female friends, and Francie's like, I don't like women. And, she's like, Katie, or Mom, you don't have any female friends either. And she's like, yeah, I had this one friend, but then I stole I stole her boyfriend from her, but at one time I did have a friend, but now I don't. But there's very much this kind of, women hating other women theme. The women at the factory initially kind of bully Francie, and I don't know if you guys got to that part, but they kind of make a clique and then make her feel like an outsider, and I don't know if that necessarily means that the author thinks that women can't be friends, or that they're always going to tear each other down, or if that was just the circumstances that these characters were in.
I think it was a learned behavior, though. See, because, I mean, as far as I got, you saw that in the school with the lice. Like, okay, so they get checked for the lice, and the kids who don't have lice pick on the kids who do. And then the next week, when the check comes around, even if they had it the previous time, they don't have it this time, they turn around and pick on the other people. So it's something that started as a school age and was never like a corrected behavior and so it just continues on until into adulthood,
But
or
the author
almost
also
adulthood.
comments how, like, men don't do it as much as women. Like, you can kind of tell that, like, the women are more alone than the men. Like, the men have some sort of camaraderie. Maybe it's because they work together, because they're, I don't know. But, like, the author does explicitly comment on how it's not just everybody, it's, like, specifically women.
Yeah, which is interesting because that's kind of the opposite of what we traditionally think of as, we think about women being in groups and having support systems, and the men kind of trying to, like, be independent and not rely on other men. And it's very, very opposite with the female characters being very independent in this book.
Do you think the men go to the bathroom together during this time period?
I don't know.
And so, do you think it's commentary? Or do you think it's a function of the time?
I think that was kind of the question
Yeah.
that you're posing, right, Jessica?
Well, yeah, I don't know if I wonder if the author could have portrayed the characters Katie and Francie and Sissy as being so strong-willed and independent, and this whole, like, coming of age with Francie growing up, if she had also shown them as having strong relationships with other women. I think it would have been a very different story.
I agree.
And I think that was part of it.
This is me in Celebration.
That's you in Celebration, not playing with your hair?
I'm not playing with my hair, I'm actually playing with the bar above my head.
Okay.
But I was playing with my hair before. I get fidgety, guys. Can't do this. Why I should have, like, a book club with, like, coffee. I don't like coffee. Something like coffee.
You know you could, like, make coffee before we start.
I know, I knew you were going to say that. I thought about it. I brushed my teeth, though. And I was like, can't have tea yet. The kettle will go off while I'm discussing. Just ignore me. I'm ridiculous. You both know this. You're just giving me a hard time.
I thought about making some hot chocolate before we started because it is very cold in this room. It is the coldest room in the house. But then I didn't.
I didn't think about making anything. I was just finishing the breakfast.
I love it. So what's next? I think I tried to fix the events and they wouldn't fix.
Oh, it looked okay to me. Well, at least the February one is like all of it.
This one, or is it the other one?
The other one.
Okay.
That one's for February. Okay.
I didn't see which one you had.
This one is the Glass Castle. The other one is Olive Kitteridge.
Okay. So Olive Kitteridge is January, Glass Castle's February.
Yes.
Okay.
Have you started reading Jessica Olive Kitteridge?
No, I haven't.
It's also a very slow book, so I apologize, Eli.
Okay.
It's okay. I've got it right here. It was on my desk.
It's a pretty, like, I think, like, I started reading it, like, a couple years ago or something, and got pretty decently far through. But it's basically, like, a bunch of short stories, but all of them involve this woman, Olive Kitteridge.
Didn't they make a TV show out of it?
Did they?
I believe so.
Ooh.
I think it's on HBO.
I don't know.
Interesting. I've got a reader's guide in the back of mine. Cool. So Tracy's read it, and she said that we are not gonna like Olive Kitteridge. Like that, not the collection of stories, but the character.
Got it.
And so we can talk about that when we meet the next time.
Is it in the reading guide, though? I think we should follow the reading guide.
The reading guide, the first question in the reading guide is, do you like Olive Kitteridge as a person?
Well, There we go.
So we might go in with bias because
Because you've now made us biased.
yes, because I've now made you biased.
Okay.
But no, you know what? I think a collection of short stories will be good. How many of them are there? Because then I'd be like, oh, a short story a day, and then I can actually, finish it before we start. 2, 3, 4, 5,
So
6,
long as you count how many days you're going to need.
13. 13
You're
days.
good. You're golden.
All right.
All right. Any final thoughts on Three Girls in Brooklyn?
Are you guys gonna both finish it?
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna finish it.
I'm going to finish it this week. I just decided I didn't want to marathon it before right now.
Yeah.
I did read it like a huge chunk on the train, though.
Yay for trains. I thought I was gonna read quite a bit on the drive from here to Cleveland and back, but that didn't happen.
I had a 20-hour train to Brooklyn and then back, but I slept for a lot more of it than I thought I would. And I also finished Gone Girl, which, Jessica, is the first book that I disagree with you on. Hate that book.
The ending you don't like?
I don't like her as an author.
Oh, wow. Okay, we'll have to talk about it.
Yeah, but we don't have to talk about that. For everyone else on live.
So, wait, Meryl, you didn't like it, so Jessica, you did?
Yeah.
I did too. I read it a couple years ago or a year ago or so. No, more than a year ago with Pam. Before Nerdfighteria Online Book Club started. She and I had a book club.
Just don't like her writing style. I don't. Yeah. I think I would have liked Gone Girl more if I had read Sharp Objects first, though.
Yeah, I haven't read that.
Alright, so I'm gonna end it. All of Kittredge is next. I'm going to see if I can't fix the event so that it shows up now, because it's not showing up on mine. And I'll see you guys later. I'm gonna stop it.